Hey everyone, it's Deja from CrochetEverAfter.com. Today we're making a viewer request project, and it was a beanie with a ponytail hole. So when you're going running in this upcoming winter and you need a ponytail, you can stick it through the hole in your beanie that you can make with this pattern. So we're going to use worsted weight yarn. This yarn I'm actually going to be giving away a whole hank, so check out my website if you like this yarn. You can win some. It'll be up for a little while after this post. But we're going to use worsted, and we're going to use a 6mm USJ hook, and that's all you'll need, plus a yarn needle. But that's it, so let's get started. Alright, so to begin our beanie, we're going to do a magic adjustable loop. So the easiest way to explain how to get that loop is to hold your yarn in both hands, and the hand that's holding the loop, so right hand if you're right-handed, left if you're left-handed, is going to just turn down and create a crossover. Then just hold on to that crossover where the yarn is meeting and reach through the loop that you just made. So make sure it's not all tangled. Reach through, grab your working yarn, so you have your tail and your working yarn, and pull that through. And then what I like to do when I'm doing single crochet magic adjustable loops is just do a slip stitch and tighten it down. And that grabs hold of my magic adjustable loop, and now it won't come undone. So there's a couple different ways that you can start your very first single crochet. You can do a chain one to begin, or what I like to do as well is pull out my chain just a tad so it's a little bit longer than normal and just start single crocheting. So the reason that I pull it out a little bit before I do my very first single crochet is it makes it more in line with the rest of my single crochets. So when I come back around, it's easy to see and easy to work into those first two loops, or that first V. So pull out your chain just a little bit if you don't want to do the chain one. Otherwise, when you come around, if you have a chain one, you ignore it and you just start working into your very first single crochet that you made. So to work those single crochets, you're going to reach through your loop, grab your working yarn, it kind of just lays right over the top of your hook, grab it and pull it up. Then you're going to yarn over from back to front, and you'll see that I kind of hold on to everything because it all wants to undo itself and get tangled and everything else. So hold on to everything with all your extra fingers and yarn over and then pull through the two loops on your hook. So I need to do 6 of these total. I've got 4, 5, and 6. And if you're not counting when you're making these, what you can do is turn your work and count the tops of your stitches. It'll be easier to count than all of these little lines that you have going on the front. So just turn it sideways and count your V's. So you don't count the one that's on your hook, that's your working loop. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have a total of 6, which is what we need, so we're going to close up our magic adjustable loop. So grab your tail, hold on to that very last stitch you made right where the yarn comes out, and pull the tail. That's going to close up your hole so you have a completely closed hole on the top of your beanie. And then we're ready for round 2. Alright, we're ready to start round 2, and what we're going to do is start increasing. So if you see increase on your pattern, usually the abbreviations will tell you how you're going to increase, and we're going to increase by doing 2 single crochets in every stitch around. So I'm not going to join my rounds. I'm going to work in a spiral so that there's no visible seam on the beanie. That way you can put your ponytail hole wherever you want. And I'll explain more about customizing the hole once we get closer to where it's going to be placed. So I'm going to go under my first 2 loops of the very first single crochet. You can use your fingernails or your fingers to help you get under just those 2 loops at the very beginning. Sometimes they get a little small. So we're going to yarn over, pull through, pull up our loop, and do our first single crochet. Because we're working in a spiral, it can get very easy to lose your stitch count or lose where your place is, so I recommend using a stitch marker or a piece of yarn. And what I do is I put the stitch marker right under the top 2 loops of my very first stitch. Some people like to put it in the last stitch of their previous round, so it would come over here. I like to put in the first stitch of the round so that way I can keep working all the way around to the end without having to stop. So I've got my first single crochet, now I need to put another one in that same stitch. So you'll see that little hole right there. I'm just going to go right back in, lay over my yarn, pull up my loop, and then yarn over and pull through both. Then I'm going to do the same thing in the remaining 5 stitches in my round. I'm going to do 2 in each stitch. Okay, I'm in that last stitch, I'm doing my last single crochet. And I know it's my last because I've got 2 in this stitch and my stitch markers right here, so that helps me to stop also. I know when my round is done if you're not counting completely. So our next round, what we're going to be doing is increasing again, but we have to space them out. So for the geometry of making a single crochet round lay flat is every round we need to increase by 6 stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase in the very first stitch of this round. So I'm going to do 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. I'm going to put my stitch marker in that very first one, so I don't have to count as much. And then I'm going to do 1 single crochet in my next stitch. And that's going to be my pattern repeat. So you'll see brackets on the pattern, and it's going to say single crochet 2 times in the next stitch, and then comma single crochet. So when you see a comma, that means go to your next stitch and do the next instruction that you're given. And then the brackets tell you to keep repeating that however many times it says after the brackets. So it says 6 times. So that means I'm going to do that pattern 6 times on my round. So I'm going to do 2 single crochets in my next stitch, and then a single crochet in the stitch after. Then I go back to the beginning of my brackets and do 2 single crochets again, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch. And we're going to do that 3 more times to finish off the round. Alright, my last stitch here, just 1 single crochet. So you can see, like I said, that you don't have to count as much when you have the stitch marker, because normally this is going to be 18 stitches all the way around, but I can count just 3 at a time. I can say 1, 2 for the increase, and then 3 for the single. Then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I can just keep doing that until I hit this stitch marker and I know that I'm done with my round. So I don't have to actually count out 18 stitches. So my next one's going to turn into 24 stitches. So again, that very first single crochet, that very first V, we're going to do 2 single crochets in it. 1, let me put my stitch marker in. And then we have 2. And now we're spacing those increases out by 2 stitches. So I'm going to do 1 single crochet in this stitch and 1 single crochet in the next stitch. So again, we have those brackets. It tells us single crochet 2 times in the next stitch, single crochet in next 2 stitches. So there's a difference. You're doing 2 single crochets in 1 stitch, and then a single crochet in your next 2 stitches. So single crochet, single crochet. So we're doing that again all the way around 6 times. So how you can count this if you have your stitch marker is 1, 2 for your increase, then 3 for that first one, and 4 for the second one. So you can just count up to 4 until you hit your stitch marker and you're good, instead of having to count 24 stitches and possibly get lost on where your increases go. We space the increases out, also in case you're wondering, evenly, so we have an even circle. If I put 6 increases right here, if I just did 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, I would get like a weird lump over here, and it would look really misshapen. It wouldn't create a nice circle, so that's why we have to spread them out evenly. So keep going around, and we'll start on the next round when we meet at the end. Alright, I just finished that previous round, so now we're moving on. We're on round 1, 2, 3, 4, round 5. And you can tell what round you're on by how many stitches that you're putting into your brackets. So we did 4, remember how we did 1, 2, 3, 4? Because we're on round 4, so now we're going to do the same, but with 5 stitches. So we're going to do 2 in the very first stitch, our increase. And then we're going to space those out by 3 stitches. So our repeat will be a total of 5 stitches. So we have 1, 2, and then 3, and next stitch 4, and then the next stitch 5. When we do that 6 times, we end up with 30 stitches. So you'll see there is a definite pattern to how we increase, or how I increase, and then you do it. Since there's only one of me. Oh, it just cracks me up when people say we. So 5. And we just keep doing that around 6 times total. And then we're going to increase some more. Alright, just finish round 5. So we're going to, as in me and you, not two of me, we are going to keep doing that kind of increase where we do 2 single crochets in the first stitch of the round, and then we're going to increase our single crochets between our increases by 1 each round. So this is round 6, so we need a total of 6 stitches. So we have 1, 2, and then we're going to put 4, 1 single crochet in each of our next 4 stitches. And we're going to keep doing that each round, so the round after this will be 5 stitches between each increase, and then 6 stitches, and so forth and so forth. So we're going to keep going around, me and you, and we're going to get to round 10, and then we'll meet back up so we can move forward with the pattern. So just keep doing those increases, follow the pattern, and do your single crochets between each increase. Keep your stitch marker so you don't lose count, and we'll meet back up on round 10. Okay, I have finished all the way through round 10, and I still have a few more rounds to go before I get to my even stitches. And I call, when you make just 1 single crochet in each stitch around, those are my even stitches, because it's just the same over and over again. The reason I wanted to stop at round 10 was so if you wanted to customize the size of your beanie. Now, this round, the outside is called the circumference, so just if you're not familiar with that term, and usually the circumference of an adult female head is around 20 inches. So if you measure around the biggest part of your head where the beanie's going to sit, it should be around 20 inches. And then go up a couple inches for a man, down a couple inches for a child. But if you want to get it as close as possible to the head that you're intending to make this for, what you can do is measure the head, whatever your inches is, you divide it by 3.14, which is pi. So 3.14 dividing into the circumference of your head will give you how far across this part of your beanie should be. So for example, for a 20-inch head, divide by 3.14 and you get about 6.5 inches. So if I take my measuring tape and I take it to one end of my beanie to the other end, you can see that I'm about 5 3/4 inches across. So I still need to get all the way over here to 6.5 inches. So if you want to make this custom size, if you're making it for maybe a man or a little kid, when you divide by 3.14, if you get 5.5 inches, you could probably stop right here at round 10 and then start just single crocheting. If you're making it for a man, you might need to go to 7. I can't remember what exactly the 22 divided by 3.14 is right now, but somewhere around 7. So you can go all the way out to 7. So as you're making each round, stop and measure it afterwards to see what your across measurement is, which is your diameter. And once your diameter hits that correct inch mark, you can stop and just start crocheting even. So I'll go over more of the crocheting even once I get to my 6.5 inches, which is the round that's stated on your pattern. So if you're making it for somebody special and you want a certain size, that's what you're going to do. Otherwise, just keep going to the round that the pattern states. So just like all of our previous rounds, we're going to do an increase in the first stitch and then start spacing out our next increase by the next amount. So this is round 11, so we're going to space it out by 9 stitches. So keep going until the pattern tells you, or until you hit your correct diameter, and then everything else is going to be the same from there. Okay, so I finished through round 12. I'm now on round 13, and now we're going to start on the even stitches. So if you're going for the 20-inch female size, you're going to go all the way up to round 12 of increasing, and then we're going to start bending our beanie into an actual beanie shape. Now, this part coming up, it's all just single crochets. So a stitch marker comes in really handy because you're going to single crochet in every stitch you come to. No increasing, no nothing. And we're just going to keep doing that over and over again, as many rounds as it takes for where you want your ponytail hole. So if you don't want a ponytail hole, you're just going to keep single crocheting to the end of the pattern. But if you want the ponytail hole, you're going to go and single crochet round after round. As you start single crocheting, it's going to take a couple of rounds before this starts to cup up into a beanie shape. But you're going to keep putting it on your head. So put your hair in a ponytail where you normally like to put your ponytail. Some people like high ponytails. I usually have pretty low ponytails. So put your ponytail in, and then just keep trying on your beanie until the beanie reaches the top of your ponytail. So hopefully that makes sense. You're just going to keep single crocheting, checking where the beanie lies on your head in relativity to your ponytail, and once it hits the top of your ponytail, you're going to come back and you're going to watch how to make the ponytail hole. So I'm going to keep going and see where mine ends up. I'll let you know what round mine is on when I get there, and then I'll show you how to make that hole. Okay, I have gone all the way up to round 24 for my beanie. That's where I want my ponytail hole to be. You remember you can change it, do less or more depending on where you want your ponytail to be, so try it on as you're making it to check that out. But what we're going to do is on the next round, round 25, or whatever round you want your ponytail ponytail hole on, we're going to make it right now at the beginning of the round. So I'm going to make my ponytail hole 5 stitches wide. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That should be big enough for my ponytail. I have a pretty thick ponytail. You might want to adjust it. What you can do is make this round and the next round, and then try it on and put your ponytail through, so that way you're not making the whole beanie, and if it's too big or too small you have to rip out lots and lots of rounds. If you make it just these 2 rounds, then you can try it on and see how you like the hole. But what I'm going to do is 5 stitches wide, so I'm going to chain 5. So however many stitches wide you want your ponytail hole, chain that many stitches. So chain 5. Now skip the same amount of stitches that you chained. So I have 5 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm skipping all of those, and I'm going to go into the 6th stitch and do a single crochet. So now I've created my hole. So this is why you want to do one more round after this, so that you get kind of a thicker, you'll see what we're going to do on the next round to work into this, so that it creates a nice hole for your ponytail, so that way you can see if you like the 5 stitches wide or if you want to go more or less. But what we're going to do is just single crochet again all the way around until we get back to our chains. So you can throw a stitch marker in there, but you probably don't need one since the first stitch is a chain. It's kind of easy to see. So just single crochet all the way around again until you get back to that first chain. Here's my last single crochet of round 25. So now I have these chains. I have 2 ways that I can work into them. I can either go into a loop and start single crocheting across each loop, but I don't really like that because you can kind of see that open gaping hole that I get when I do that. So what instead I'm going to do is I'm going to work all the way around the chain. So I have 5 chains, so I need to do 5 single crochets around this chain. So you're just going to reach through the entire chain, yarn over, pull it up, single crochet, push them over a little bit if they're starting to spread out, and get 5 of them in there, and it's going to create a lot nicer edge than if you were working into each of those loops by themselves. Then we just single crochet again. This is a super single crochet project. So we're going to go all the way around. So this is the time to try on your beanie, put your hair in a ponytail, put it on, make sure that it fits through the hole you just created. If your hole is too big, go down a chain or two, or however many you need. If it's too small, go up a chain. Just remember to skip the same amount of stitches that you chain, and then put those same amount of single crochets back into that chain. So 5 chains, skip 5 stitches, then go back and put 5 single crochets back around those chains. So we're going to keep going. After this round, I'm going to keep on going until I get to the end of my beanie, because that's all we're doing. We put our hole in there for our ponytail, and it's not super noticeable, so if you don't want to put your ponytail in one day, it should still be pretty good to wear as a normal beanie, so that's a plus as well. But I'm going to keep going to the round stated in the pattern to finish my beanie. If you want a slouchy beanie, which is probably slouchy beanie is not the greatest idea for the ponytail, because it's going to not work because you have it put for the size of your head from wearing it, so nix that. You don't want to do a slouchy ponytail beanie. But if you like your beanie to cover your ears really good or come down really far on your forehead, you might want to adjust the rounds that I put for the pattern. So it's kind of a personal thing. Try it on as you're making it, and when you get to the length that you like, if you don't like how many rounds I have listed, just stop when you're happy, and then we're going to do, or technically one round before you're happy, because we're going to do one last round to mask the offset. So if you see, if I stopped right now, my beanie, I would have this little offset. I have this single crochet up here, and it doesn't line up with the next one because we're working in spirals. So at the very last round, we're going to fix that and make it almost invisible. So keep on single crocheting, and I'll see you in a minute. Alright, I've done the extra rounds that I wanted so that I could have the beanie cover my ears and forehead. So I'm up to round 31, and round 32 is going to be my final round. You can do less if you don't want your beanie coming as far down on your head, or you can do extra. So one thing, because you can't really do a slouchy beanie with this, but you can do some extra rounds, and you can fold up if you like a flap on your beanie. I like just kind of flat, straight beanies, so I just am sticking with the 31 rows. But there's plenty of yarn left over in my bowl, so I could do that if I wanted to. So if you win the yarn that I'm giving away, that's the same as this yarn on my giveaway that you can check out on my blog, you can make extra rounds and you'll have plenty of yarn left over. So anyways, now we're on round 32, and what I wanted to do was get rid of this offset that we have. Our rounds are worked in spirals, so we always get this offset because we don't join. So what we're going to do is kind of a fake join. So in our next stitch, or the beginning stitch of round 32, we're going to slip stitch. So we're just going to grab it and slip stitch, and that kind of brings it down, but it's still kind of noticeable when you're wearing the beanie. So we're going to do one more round of single crochet, but we're going to join it at the end. So we're going to do a chain 1, so we get some height, and then we're going to single crochet in that same slip stitch. So we're going to go ahead and do a single crochet right there, and then we're going to start single crocheting all the way around. So we're just going to do one final round of the single crochet, and then when we join it up over here at the end, it's going to be pretty much flat and not noticeable with that offset. So single crochet all the way around, and then we'll meet up at the join. Alright, I'm at my last single crochet of round 32, and then I'm going to I'm going to slip stitch into my first single crochet of the round. So I'm not going to skip that, chain 1, not pay attention to that, go right under both loops of the first single crochet I made, pull that through and pull through there. and just tighten that down to close up any kind of gap. Then we're going to fasten off. So I like to fasten off by yarning over and pulling just kind of a long chain. And then I cut it. Then I pull out the tail that's attached to my yarn, and I have just the tail to weave in. So you can see that by doing that last round of single crochet, it gives me a nice flat edge all the way around, so it's not as noticeable as that offset that we had. So I'm going to weave in this end, and then we'll take a look at the finished beanie. Alright, we got it all finished and woven in, and you can see our little ponytail hole here. But if you're wearing it and you don't want to have a ponytail, it's close enough that you probably wouldn't even notice it, or anybody behind you, because you probably put this in the back, they wouldn't notice it. So that is our ponytail, or beanie with a ponytail hole. It was a viewer request, so if you guys have any viewer requests, make sure you leave them in the comments and I'll add them to the viewer queue on my website. But thank you all for watching.